Right, I'm going live. I am live. Hello and welcome to the final countdown, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to do a little fiddling around until people show up, assuming they will, starting with obvious place with a question in the live chat, which was Oswald Spengler saying, I assume that's Jason in the picture. How old? Which picture? If you're talking about the thumbnail, that was Roman Polanski in there. One of the t-shirt designs for Maps of Hell. I can't think what else you're talking about, but it's curious if I got mistaken for Polanski. Have a curious echo with another t-shirt design, which is David Byrne, which was the first t-shirt I've actually printed up in the local printers. And when I took it into the shop to show my wife the result, there was somebody there who may be listening today, Janaya, because she's commented on the blog. The only person in Hope, as far as I know, who listens to Dilemma West. And I think it was Janaya. Anyway, guessed that the David Byrne was me when I was younger. Also, a young version of me. I don't think I ever looked like Polanski or David Byrne, or they ever looked like me. I did certainly try to look like David Byrne and slick my hair back and all of that stuff. And I did emulate Roman Polanski. Didn't ever want to look like him, however. I'm about a foot too tall, etc. But yeah, that's curious because there's no real similarity between my features and Polanski's at all. Big nose and sharp chin, and anyway. So what's that about? Is it about seen and not seen? Is it about he would see pictures in movies, in books and magazines, and he would imagine that some of these faces might be right for him? I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to start by asking, there's now 14 of us, that means 13 people currently watching. And I wanted to start by asking everyone to introduce themselves, which I've never done before, but YouTube more or less preventing any kind of interaction short of text messages, questions. It would be good at least to know who's there. Hello, Ollie. And to get a sense of that. Now, this is both practical and more than practical. He's Manification. Hello from York, UK. He's out running, typing, texting and running. Be careful, you might get a ticket. Nearly dark. Yeah, practically speaking, the ostensible aim of this YouTube event, Dose the Mill, is to complete phase 1 of the 16 Maps of Hell fundraiser campaign by raising in the next hour and a half the remaining £170. We do have a bit of wiggle room there, which I'll maybe explain a bit later, but roughly we're talking about needing 4 more pre-orders of the book, and I can now officially say that you would be pre-ordering the book because it's in the bag now, one way or another. The book will, well, God willing, of course, I will proceed with the plan to publish the book. And so my point being is that there would need to be at least 4 people here who haven't already pledged, or whatever we're going to call that, pre-ordered, contributed, supported the venture. Otherwise, I'm wasting my breath, essentially, as well as that particular goal, which is, I'm tempted to say superficial, but that has a value connotation to it, but it's surface. That's what's going on here on the surface. So that's the one reason people to introduce themselves. I won't necessarily know, like Oswald Spengler, too confusing when you use these weird names. I know that we've corresponded, and so I actually do know your real name, but I can't remember for the life of me. And so offhand, I'm not sure whether you've contributed or not. Oh, that's right on time. Haven't got your stimulus check. Planning on pre-ordering once I get it. All right, well, it may be too late then. It won't be too late to get a copy, I'm sure, but it'll be too late to be part of this final crescendo. And I will say at this point that those who are participating now probably will make it into the book. I mean, you will literally make it in the book because there will be a list of names, of course, first names, last initials, um, of the contributors in the acknowledgements or at the back, wherever it goes. But I'm realizing at this point that what's going on here with this fundraiser is, I don't want to give away too much, but it's of such significance, sufficient significance, that it will, in some to some degree, be included in the book. Actually, I think to a very significant degree. Thank you, Don Fletcher. In Hell Need a Map. That's is where I want to get to quite soon. But just to finish that point, I will be finishing the book. It is finished, but I will be adding new elements to the book, probably a new forward and a new an afterword, which that hasn't been at this point. That will incorporate what's happening now because it's relevant to what I've called the asterisk rough draft of the exit. So when Don Fletcher says in Hell Need a Map, what he really means is need a way out. A map is only of use if it has the exit on it. I'll probably get to that question in a minute, the Oswald one, maybe. So yes, the whatever we're going to call this, participator, collaborator, let's be as generous as we can be, I will. You're now collaborating not just with the printing of the book, but the writing of the book, because you're providing me with an example of how community works and what's an alternate way through Hell that doesn't involve recruiting the allegiance, the alliance, the support of the demons, i.e. the gatekeepers, i.e. publishers and agents and Amazon and so on. If we do it ourselves, then we are creating a way out that essentially doesn't exist, like the maze in the Overlook Hotel. It's designed to keep moving so that there's actually no way out of hell because we generate our own hell. It's an internal hell that we're generating externally through our compulsively reenacted behaviors. So the way out is within, and that has to do with resonating at a frequency, an angelic frequency, might even say, that doesn't require the assistance of demons to find our way out of hell. Essentially, it doesn't need a map, but the map is a kind of pretext for discovering the exit. As I said earlier on the blog post, hell is a map. Hell is the way that we have mapped existence, and that existence has been imprinted onto our nervous system in this hellacious fashion. So there is no hell outside of the map. So that's the function of the map, is we can see that the map is not the territory, that the hell that we've mapped is not reality. It's a social construct. That was just a quick nutshell summation of something. So it's funny that I'm talking as much as I can because I was going to start by not talking, or I thought, well, maybe I will start by not talking. I hope I can, because I hope I can talk if I don't have anything to say. I hope I can not talk if I don't have anything to say. I hope I don't just talk for the sake of talking, because that wouldn't assist anyone with anything. And so where I was going to begin, which brings me to Don Fletcher's fiery message about needing a map, was a tweet that, Don, you would have seen. By the way, I will repeat, if you haven't already, please put in the chat box hello, just so I know you're there. That's all it has to say is hello, whatever. Just introduce yourself in that way so I know that who's watching, even if I don't know who you are, of course, necessarily. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But anyway, do that now, please, if you can. I invite you to. I don't insist, but it's going to influence the flavor of this meal that is being delivered here, whether you add your spice to it or not. Anyway, the tweet in question was from May 21st. The eternal formless being the only thing that is real, since it can't be captured by the temporal world of forms. Reminder to supporters of 16 Maps of Hell and its author, that's me, it's not really about a book. Don't mistake the map for the terrain. Look around. What do you see? That was sparked by an after conversation email from Sam Hyde. That will be a podcast soon. He had a comment that sparked that response that I turned into a tweet that was referring to Maps of Hell. Now, don't mistake the map for the terrain. Look around. What do you see? So I encourage you now to do that, or invite you to do that. Hello, radio. I think I've said hello to everyone who has said hello so far. Yes, I have. So that's about 8 people who haven't yet. So don't be shy. Hello, Brian. I invite you to look around, literally or figuratively. Look around is also look within, and when you look within, you're also looking around, like the inner inside of your body, and your awareness is also spatial. It's not like looking within is just this one point behind the dirt in your belly button. There's a whole vista, a whole plateau of existence on the inside. But anyway, whether it's within or without or both, look around and tell me what you see. You can tell me literally, but you don't have to. And is it hell? And which parts are hell and which parts aren't? Or how do you find yourself situated in relation to hell? If you're a Christian or you have some Christian orientation, obviously this is a more loaded question than it is if you're not. I'm a liminalist, which means I'm half Christian. I can't tell you what the other half is because I haven't crossed over yet. It's not anti-Christian, certainly, and it's not atheist or even secular, but it's non-denominational, it's non-religious. I'm not religiously oriented, the other half of me. I could say the other half. I mean, the half that's Christian is also Islam and other things too, to be frank. So as far as an Orthodox or even just a conventional Christian, didn't mean to use Orthodox in the Orthodox sense, that I'm no Christian at all. I'm not even 1/10, and that's probably worse than being none. But I'm definitely not a cultural Christian. Don't have any cultural associations with Christianity or interests in. Anyway, that's all a digression, isn't it? The thing is about how the value and the meaning of this project, which is the book, but it's also the fundraiser, which is you and me working together. Please actually remember, I invite you to remember, I shouldn't say please, because that's going to go against the point I want to get to, which is that I'm not actually asking for anything. And that has been I've become increasingly conscious of the imperative to proceed and to succeed with this project without asking anyone for anything. So, for instance, I was thinking about asking Chancellor if he'd have me on his podcast, because that would spread the word more. And he was interested in supporting this book, and he did suggest we could do a podcast after I had him on the Liminalist. So it could have just been a reminder, but it would have still, he knows already if he wants to, he's going to do it. It would have technically been asking him for something, support this book. The fundraiser isn't asking anyone for anything. It's offering. I'm offering something. Admittedly, it's an exchange, so it's both asking and offering. It's selling, really. And it's like in the thrift store. Do I ask people for money? Well, yes and no. They say, "Can I have this towel or this blanket?" And I say, "Yes, you can. It will be $2, please." There's the please, right? But it's very clear it's an exchange. There's no favors involved. If there are, it's usually on the other side, because people say, can I have this without money? And I say, yeah, sure. And people do sometimes throw money in the thing, but they know that's going to the chicken and the hungry and the homeless. Someone did recently give some money for the book, actually, in the thrift store. So that was a first. But I have digressed. I'm tempted to read that comment because my ego likes it. I think you won the exchange with Eric Davis comments. Maybe I will get to that, but maybe I won't. But anyway, thank you. I hope it wasn't meant to be a fencing match, really. I don't know. But anyway, it turned into that. But where there's a winner, there's always a loser. So, or at least in some models, and in that model there, I think. And I think what this campaign is, one of the things it maybe can demonstrate is that it's possible for everybody to win. I mean, possibly not Harvey Weinstein if he reads the chapter, or Leonard Cohen's surviving family members. Or I'm not saying that this is a totally neutral work that's not going to rock any boats. Obviously, you wouldn't be interested if it was, but that, I mean, that's very far removed. That's like Lily Wachowski. I mean, I said he cut his dick off. I mean, and there it came to his defense, or her. It's whatever. It was a bit blunt in me. I realized I overstated it, but that, my point is, Lily Wachowski doesn't need protection from me. There are no consequences there. He's not going to read it. Right. I know that can turn into a dicey kind of rationalization, or it's definitely a generalization I'm just making at this point. In terms of there being no losers in this project, what I mean is that it's a collaboration, and I get some remuneration and a lot of validation, and you get the book and other things, and also you get to feel like you're part of something, and I get to feel like what I'm doing has involving people in a way that's much more hands-on and much more tangible. And this is certainly where I wanted to get to today. But I'll just pause to say again, if you've just joined or if you haven't got around to it, please, I invite you to introduce yourself in the chat so I can just see who's watching. And I'm addressing myself particularly to people who haven't yet contributed to the 16 Maps of Hell campaign, and or who want to do it again, who would like to make this the realization live online of goal number one, £660. We need roughly just a little bit more than 4 more contributions. I mean 4 more option 3, I beg your pardon, which is essentially a pre-order. As a pre-order of the book. So none so far. I just checked my email. And so before I get to the deeper stuff, I'll just do a little bit of selling here. I have decided more or less that one of the extras that you'll get, certainly from let's say from option 2 onward, I'm not going to commit to option 1 right now, because that's quite a low bar. I mean, it's quite a low amount, and I am angling to win today. I'm in my winning mode, and please bear with me. This is quite experimental. I don't really believe that winning is a goal. This is really a way to win. But anyway, I'm speaking shorthand here. Something else is going on as well as what my conscious mind is aware of. Anyway, what I have decided more or less is from option 2 upward, you will receive a 100-page PDF of Homo sapiens Redacted Redux, Aeolus Cephas versus Jason Horsley, Emerging from Occultism. I got that in the wrong order. It's got two subtitles. Initially it was Homo sapiens redacted, emerging from occultism, and then because of the tweet from, I believe, Carlos, but he uses a weird thing on tweet. It is confusing with all these different things. Ignatius K. Dick, don't know if you're listening, it's quite late in Spain. Because of him bringing up Aeolus Cephas, I just thought, oh gosh, I never finished that project, which is I was rewriting Homo sapiens as a way to amend for my errors and correct them and present counter arguments to the ones I had presented with Homo sapiens. Anyway, subtitle Emerging from Occultism. It addresses how and why I've turned away from occultism and are more aligned with Christian religious perspective. At least it's flipped, because I was always both, but leaning much more heavily towards the occult view, and now I'm leaning more heavily towards the religious, balancing them out. How much extra cost for Oz? Option 2. It's possible, I can't swear to it, it's possible there is no extra cost postage, I assume you're talking about, for Oz if you want surface mail. Now, I have no idea how they can even get something to Oz by surface mail, actually, or to Europe for that matter. But whatever, it's very, very slow. It can take 2 months to England, so I have no idea. But I think, and I may be wrong, that that would cover the price. The postage included covers surface to Oz, I think. All right, so that's the new thing. I don't know how much that interests people listening, how long you've been following me, if any of you have read Homo sapiens, whether you have or not. If you have an interest in my writing, I'm sure this would interest you, and certainly if you have an interest in occultism versus a Christian perspective, then it will. It's 100 pages. I have only done the intro and the first 2 chapters, and then I got pulled into other things. So I have a feeling I may never finish that Redux. So I thought, well, what the hell? Let's just give it to these good people who've been supporting me. And also, well, let's use it as a little extra carrot to see if we can close the deal today. So yeah, say hello in the chat box, those who haven't, because I think, let's see, let's just slow down a bit, catch breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Roundabout Corey asks, is held private? Good question. That's 9, so that's a little over half. So there's quite a few who haven't introduced themselves. So please do that if you can. Maybe some reason you can't, of course, if you're driving a car or something. And if you are watching and you haven't contributed, well, I know somebody gave an excuse there. Maybe it was a reason. Can't be sure. I have to be careful here about making a hard sell. Hello, Mari. Because of course it can backfire and I might seem desperate. I'm keen. I'm keen to finish it today. Obviously, it would be interesting. It's a pretty neutral word, isn't it? I almost said exciting, but I can't promise to get excited or more excited than I am. If we hit the goal, we'll get to see. I mean, don't you want to put me under the microscope and see how Jason reacts if he actually, aha, there have been two donations. So as I said, there's a bit of wiggle room. I've got it at £170 short. That's not exact, and there may be an error, but it's definitely no more than that. I'll say that. I'll say no more than that. Oh, thank you, Ollie. That's great. So that is 130 now is what we need. And for some reason it went into a different thread. Proton mail is horribly slow. because everything's encrypted. Okay, and that's option number 2. That must have been Mr. Oz, I think. So what did I say? I said 130. So we're down 100 pounds is what we need now. Well, I say we, I don't know if that's poetic license, what I need, but we as in what we need if we're going to experience the climax together. Excuse the possibly sexual innuendo there. All right, thank you, both of you. That's a result. I've never done anything like this before. This is unlike with the t-shirts as well. It borders on the cheesy, and I actually like cheese a lot, but I don't like cheesy things. I mean, in the slang, used to tell I don't want to be cheesy, but I do want to walk the line because well, I'm all about walking lines and busting new moves and stuff. And there's something about entrepreneurship. Well, it's ancestral for me. It's deep in my ancestry, and there's something about rendering unto Caesar. Something about redeeming or reforming our perception of money, right? Because money's not evil. Love of money is the root of all evil. It's one of the roots, anyway. But something circular in that, something that's like money has over time become something less and less lovable, and so our love of it or our need of it or whatever has become less and less healthy. And there's quite a Tanglio complex here, and I suspect it's not just me. Money is energy. What I was going to say is that for me, my paternal imprint has money equaling love, because my father gave me money in place of love. He gave me a stone in place of fish or a piece of gold. And he also wanted to be a writer, and so he was very pleased that I became a writer. He was a successful businessman who's a Taurus, and I started this campaign in Taurus, period Taurus, and I have North Node Taurus, so I'm trying to move, not trying, but trying to allow myself to move more into a Taurian way of being, which would include entrepreneurship, making money, but also making things of beauty and harmonizing nature. Not exactly community, but I can see how I could work that in there. And so what I've been experiencing with this, I'm still waiting for more hellos, by the way. People who haven't said hello, say hello. And this is the point I'm about to make. With this book, 16 Maps of Hell, the Unraveling of Hollywood Superculture with a Rough Draft of the Exit. See, I've pretty much got it down now if I do interviews. It's like my first success, actually, and it hasn't been published yet. In the past, I've written all these books that they were successful in the sense they got published, and then I had the experience of disappointment and letdown when they didn't sell, they didn't get reviewed. I think that's about it, really. They didn't get noticed. I mean, I got a bit of notice by Pauline Kael and Joseph Chilton Pearce and Kenneth Grant, and so some big wigs noticed me through the books. But so there's a bit of that kind of validation, and I did get a slow stream. Hello, Joseph. Slow stream of validation, via emails. But this has been a constant sort of daily validation. Yes, we want the book. Yes, we like what you're doing. Yes, we support you daily in that way. And B, it's remunerative. I always want to say remunerative. That's what it should be, but I think it's remunerative, word I've never used before. See, I'm breaking new ground. That I'm receiving the validation or the support or the, let's say, affection, even to make it very soft and mushy, is in the form of money. money walks. Bullshit talks, but money walks, right? So, you know, it does count for more than "we love you, you're great," actually, because it's got the "we love you, you're great" in there, but it's also got "here's some money. I actually want what you do. I actually believe in what you do enough to support it financially." And it's not a charity thing, obviously. It's again, like I said, it's an exchange. So this constant feeling of ka-ting, which I'm aware, it could be, I might end up like one of those rats in the cage that just keeps pushing the button and getting the thrill. And once this campaign's over, you might see me going cold turkey and watch out if I start another campaign. I want more. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that what's happening is something is being put to rest in my psyche, which is this unmet need for, I'm going to say, paternal validation. I don't think it's only paternal. I'm sure it's maternal too, and it's brotherly. I mean, I didn't get it really from anywhere, actually. We're going to get out the whole violin here. But particularly, I mean, I got it more from the female side. I got from my mother. I mean, smothering love from my mother, and love from my sister was also a bit smothering sometimes. But none of them got what I was doing. I just got distracted by the Jordan Peterson question. I did think about Map of Meaning, because when I had 16 maps of 12 rules, 16 maps of how, I've just fused two Jordan Peterson titles in one. Hey, I'll have a bestseller. It wasn't calculated. It was an afterwards. I was like, oh. So anyway, a great deal of this isn't calculated actually, which is may surprise, may seem disingenuous, may not be true, but it doesn't feel calculated. And for example, this is a very broad example, but and I did say this last time, I didn't really consider like how hard this might have been, and it's only as it's gone as well as it's gone that I really become aware. Oh my God, this could have gone the whole other way. This could have been these last 3 weeks could have been really hard. I'm going to say hellish, but actually, yeah, they could have been hellish. I could have got triggered so deeply that I was lying awake at night thinking I wanted to kill myself in the past because of the lack of confirmation, validation that what I'm doing has value. And I think there's a correlation with that. I didn't really need the validation that badly. So I didn't think about, oh my God, what will happen if I don't get it? It was just, well, let's see if I can publish the book this way and then I'll be done with it. Because, and people, you will get the book and that is worth having. So it was, and that's calculated, of course, but there's a very simple equation inspired by an organic encounter with the man who is doing the index, whether he's watching today or not. More hellos, please. There's still some mystery people out there. And if you just joined, yeah, I'm asking people just to type hello into the chat box. So yeah, not really that calculated. I'll note the questions that aren't on topic. I'll try and get to them somewhere else, if not today, if they're interesting, like that last one was. Hello, Nathaniel. Thank you for piping up. Yeah, I was talking about not calculated and so quite spontaneous as well. As I'm not saying there's no mental. Obviously, it took a lot of work to work out the thing, and a lot of literal calculating. In fact, I now have Google Calculator in my bookmarks because I have to use it 5 times a day to keep up, the tally. Aha! Wow. So friendly people. Oh, whoa! We just made the goal. Oh no! I'm going to run out of steam. And now I'm feeling self-conscious because I feel like I should be gushing my enthusiasm. I am actually quite happy. But I was already happy. Thank you, sorry, no, I just clicked ahead to the, I want to do this properly with a proper doses of cheese. Thank you, Maria L, because it has been your kind contribution that has taken us officially over the line. You're the first to know. I mean, new watchers, because it's not, obviously it's not updated at the site, doing it all manually. Woohoo! You see how hard that is for me? But that's what's going on inside. It's more relief now, because now we can get to the good stuff, and I don't have to. I was going to say, I don't think I've been applying pressure, but whatever I've been doing, I don't have to keep trying to inspire people. And thank you, Anna, for that almost simultaneous contribution. Yeah, we're now into officially the raising of the next amount, the reaching of goal number 2, which is the audiobook, which I will read myself, of course. So Rob D asked that at the thing, and it was a good question. I just didn't occur to me that anyone would imagine anything otherwise, like I would pay somebody to read my book. Of course, I'll have to read. Of course, I will be reading Maps of Hell myself. No one else could do justice to it. Sinister but happy says hello. Yay, rat orgasms. That's funny. Right. So I think it's probably good that I'm not getting overexcited. I think you'd want to worry about me. Brad says now you can write the book. Kidding. Well, I don't know if you were there earlier, Brad, but I did say, and I'll say again, I will be writing new forwards and a whole new afterword. There's already a forward. And the interesting thing about this is, to me, is that the forward was written at the last stage of trying to get a publisher. I thought, God, how can I make this fucking book get past these gatekeepers so they can go, this is a socially responsible work that's relevant to our times. And so I did a kind of what I hoped would be a delivery device forward, or, sugarcoating the pill, which is a bit dull, frankly. It's okay. I mean, I'll probably leave it in there. But anyway, so now I can write another forward, assuming I get the inspiration, which will be for you who have supported the book. It will be expressly for you, because, I mean, you're the ones who've ordered the book. As far as I know, no one else will read it. Oh, look, we've got some party icons. And then the afterword, well, maybe I'm hoping to get to the subject matter or the interest of what will be the afterword today, which is community uncovering. It's not building. I almost said building. We're not building a community here. We're discovering it. The body of Christ isn't something. I'm not saying that that's the same community I'm talking about. I'm just using this as a counter example. The body of Christ and also nature. The hidden support system of nature isn't something we build. It's something we discover. Like if you learn to live in the wilderness, you discover that nature will support you if you know how to find the things and to work with the things that are supporting you and avoid the things that won't. And this is true of human beings too. We are an ecosystem. Love is an economy, or rather, I don't quite like how that came out, because then we reduce love to money. There is an economy of love that, if we discover it and develop our ability to follow it, then the other economy will become obsolete. And that has to do with community, but it's the invisible community that already exists, which is the interconnected network of, that was tautological, of souls that is concealed by the traumatic imprint of this socially created and maintained hell world. So what I've been trying to get to today, Charles Eisenstein's gift. I keep hearing this Eisenstein guy's name. I mean, who is he? He went on Oprah. Well, he's history then. Sorry, but someone's arguing about Jan Irvin. Yeah, I don't know why he's talking about Jan Irvin. Very distracting, and Jordan Peterson too, for that matter. What I was getting to was that I want to look at my notes now, actually, because I kind of lost thread anyway, so I might as well admit it. Paternal imprint, money is love, continued validation. So I'll cover that. Not asking for anything, I mentioned that. Right, new forward and afterwards. The expert outsider, that's me on Hollywood. I'm an expert outsider. Biggest book success before it's published book no one wanted to publish. Well, okay, that's a little bit closer to maybe where I was going on. I'm not sure. Yes, it is. I mean, this is relevant. This might take a while to get there, and I don't want to have too many spoilers because I've got to work this out for the afterword. But I mean, that's the thing here is this afterword will be written for those who've contributed to the book. So it will be kind of a letter. Not that everyone who buys the book will get to read, but you will know that you have actually shaped the content of the book by contributing to, supporting, making possible its publication. And the way that has happened, I mean, what's meaningful about that and why it's a rough draft of The Exit from Hell is that the book is about this guy, me, who's trying to be a success in Hollywood and failing every step of the way and learning more and more about why he was failing, about himself, but about the true nature of Hollywood, not just why he was failing, but why he would never want to succeed at that cost. And the final iteration of that realization, 30-year insight, more from 40-year insight, was that the book itself wouldn't find a publisher, right? Because it was too, whatever we're going to call it, it was not a welcome message. It was disruptive, too disruptive a signal in Babylon. If somebody can sing on key and everybody's singing off key, that's a problem. It's going to sound off key to the people who can only sing off key, but some part of them will know deep down that it is on key, and it's showing, it's bringing home how every other note is shrill, disharmonious, discordant note. So yeah, the book is rejected by every single publisher I reach out to, including the smallest, including my own Aeon. And I'm not talking a few here. I'm looking, I don't know how many actually, 30 or something like that, and an Asian. And I mean, I'm not including the ones who ignored. I don't think. Maybe I am. Actually, I don't think I got actually 30 written rejections. Anyway, so that was kind of the final nail in the coffin in this guy's dream, me, to somehow make it in Hollywood. And if you couldn't make it in Hollywood, make it by writing about Hollywood. And that led to the crowdfunder, which has shown that there is an alternate way to be successful that is outside the system. Not entirely, of course. I'm using the technology. I'm using language. I'm not saying, this isn't transcendental, but it is a rough draft of The Exit. You're still talking about Jan Irvin? I don't know what that means. I mean, what the symbolism of that is. The second matrix. Beware the second matrix. These are the maps of hell that have no exit. I'm on YouTube. Forgive me, Father, if I have sinned. I'm using YouTube. That makes me still unredeemed as a hypocrite. We have to make compromises to reach our goals. We have to trust that our goals are true and coming from a deep place within. And as I see it, there are many layers to this goal. feel like doing more woohoos again. Oh, there's more. Thank you, Brave Mysteries. Very brave of you to brave this particular mystery. So ideally I should be tallying up. I'll take a breath in a minute and tally up, because who knows, we could even make the audiobook today. Let's aim high, aim for the sky. As long as our feet are on the ground, we wouldn't want to become Icaruses again, Icari. Success, success, success. Okay, what it is at one of the deeper levels is for me, and this would be this is a blueprint for others too, to knock something on the head, which is an unmet drive to somehow get validation from the world. And it will never ever happen unless, and now I'm tempted to mention Jordan Peterson, but I won't, or Eric Davis, or even Jan Irvin, unless we compromise ourselves in a way that makes ourselves palatable to the world. Now, I'm not going to say I haven't done that, because I can't be sure, but I can be sure that I've tried not to, and that I certainly haven't managed to get anything like the kind of validation that Jan Irvin or Eric Davis has got, never mind Jordan Peterson. The validation I've got, I would say up to and including this, but this to me really is a bit of an orgy of validation. I still say it's pretty small potatoes compared to those guys, but whatever, you know. I think the point, reached the point where we don't want to start measuring and counting and comparing at all. But I feel as though I've digressed from a digression there. So I was talking about not compromising in order to get the world's validation, because the world's validation isn't worth the paper that it's printed on. It's no longer a gold-backed currency. It's bullshit that talks and talks and cannot walk. Still talking about JI and JP. I hope you're listening while you're having this totally unrelated conversation. 26 listeners, and it's very symbolic, you know. I mean, talk about distraction, letting yourself be distracted. You know, that was a response to something I said the last one. I suppose maybe you have as well, though less of each. Less compromise, less obvious success, less hits. You know, I mean, I got 100,000 followers on YouTube, under 1,000, whatever. So I wasn't going to get into the numbers. It's funny how this becomes a numbers game with a fundraiser, because I have these particular figures, and that's why I wanted to stress that that's the lowest level of this, is the money that goes to create a book that you then get to read. That's all the same currency. It's all paper. The money's paper, mostly digital actually, but you know what I mean. The book's paper, sometimes digital, right? But it's tangible. It's stuff with form. As compared to the formless. Now, in between, and only the formless is eternal, is my point there. So that's the only thing that really has value. Yes, Recluse, please just forget about all those other guys and go to Recluse if you still want to stay in hell a bit longer. But in between, incredibly hard to stay on thread, by the way. It's like the cat's still here and the mice are playing. In between the formless and eternal and the gross material of books and money is the psychic realms, and this is why I made that intrepid question about the book. Is this a book to rescue lost souls? Because of realizing something correlating with my brother and what trapped him in some sticky kind of ancestral swamp that may or may not be in the netherworld of Bardo realms, but certainly is still in my psyche. I was saying this, oh yeah, that for me to resolve a self-sabotage mechanism that's prevented me from achieving some sort of legitimate worldly success that isn't about trying to get the world's validation, but delivering something through the world to the souls that are trapped or embedded in it, who are looking for the exit, for that thing to happen, I have to neutralize the thing in me that's self-sabotaging because it's trying to get validation from dad, from brother, and from the world in order to feel good about himself, which always self-sabotage because it's sticky, because you, the sensitive soul that you are, would feel, oh, Jason, he's not just trying to publish a book here, he's trying to get my love. And it repels us. You know, when you get somebody who's trying to get your love in all the wrong ways and they're not conscious, there's something repellent about it. Very distracting. Okay, I'm going to ban all comments that mention Peterson or Irvin at this point. I'm going to sincerely request that no more comments mention those people, because it's kind of becoming a bit nightmarish now. I'm not saying they're not interesting subjects, but they're too far removed from my own location right now, and my attention. There are many distractions and never getting help. That's why I'm trying to put it in that context. But just bear in mind, if you are the distraction, then something's working through you, and that certainly is my concern. I don't want to be a distraction to anyone who's working their way out of hell by offering fake maps. Right? I have my own hooks still in me, and I'm not 100% sure that having success with this is going to facilitate my exit from hell. I'm counting on that. I'm banking on that. But I can't be sure. I don't know what viruses are running underneath the hard drive, right? So that's why I've got to be very careful, aware of my motivations. And I know that one of my motivations in the past has been to get something that some sort of emotional, psychological need met, which could be vampiric. And that's bringing me back to why I want to be careful not to be asking anyone for anything with this, because A, I don't know if this is really what I need, a success. So I want it to happen because others want it. And B, the part of me that's asking, or that feels it needs to ask, is that needy part. I mean, there's a middle overlap there, where just being, so I have, in a literal sense, I have been asking, of course, to support this campaign, but it's the energy behind it and the context of it that makes the difference. Please answer Jock's questions. I will try to get to the relevant questions, yes, I will. But I really do need to finish this point, because this is really about you much more than questions about Hollywood and corporate elite and all that stuff. So what is happening now, as far as I see it, what makes this success much more than a worldly success, is that it's uncovering connections and alliances that pre-existed the project with the book. You're getting to put your money where your mouth is, literally, and I am too. And by turning a passive performer, audience, writer, reader relationship into a collaboration, potentially we're discovering, by uncovering a hidden imperative, which is much deeper and more mysterious, which is to do with at the more visible level, to do with finding our community, finding our place in the body of humanity that is going to survive, or that is healthy, the healthy body of humanity. I can't say how that works, but there is an aspect of humanity that is healthy and is becoming stronger now. There's another aspect that is dying. So how do we find our place in the whole in such a way that we are connecting to and becoming part of the healthy part? How do we find the exit and go through the exit? Well, we do it together. We're leaving together by orienting ourselves, this is in today's podcast, through resonating with each other's inner sense of direction. Thank God I managed to finish that sentence. It's been quite challenging today. I'm glad. I like challenges, but also it's been challenging in a good way, even with the distractions. I'd say I'm kind of letting people off the hook there, but that's all right. You don't need me to put you on the hook, because there's more of an interactive energy going on. So what I'm going to do now, because I try to keep this to an hour and a half, is I'm going to look at the questions that seem serious and relevant, and then I'll come back to the campaign itself. I know that I've really only skimmed the surface of what I want to get to, but I've got the book itself, the afterword, perhaps to really unpack what it is I think is happening here, what this fundraiser is allowing for as an alternate model to Hollywood. That's it in a nutshell. A creative, collaborative community that can work together to expose hell, not in a way of condemning it or trying to destroy it, but in a way that allows us to start to reform it. Like you buy an old crack house, you've got to tear down the walls and stuff and see what's there if you're going to rebuild it, make it a place to live in. Hell is, it's just this world. We created it. Even if it's in the afterlife, we created it. I'm sorry if that upsets some Christians, but think about it. How else could it possibly exist if we hadn't created it? You can tell me that God created hell, thinking, well, I'm sure some of my creations will sin, so I better build a prison for them ahead of time. I mean, if you prefer to go with that version, feel free. But anyway, and the other point, of course, is if we built hell, there was a reason why we did it. Nothing happens without a reason. Enjoy hearing stories of the thrift store business on the podcast. Good. Occultists are now like tattooed people, as Gunther says. It's the new dogmatism and likely a racket. I think so. No, this is John P. Off topic, what are the best pouring care reviews works? Well, that's very off topic. Read Seen Not Seen. Or if you have, and because I suppose I don't make a list in there. Well, actually, the early ones are the best. It's weird because she writes about movies I don't know very well, but her writing was astounding at the beginning, the first few books. Or Jordan Peterson. The voices that want soothing and intriguing to listen to with a pinch of unsettling. I presume that's to do with the audiobook. It's going to be tricky to do the audiobook, but you know why? Because it's going to be very hard not to just break into riffs in the middle of it. And I'm sure somebody would say they would like that, but I imagine some people wouldn't, and it would make much more work for me editing it. So I'll probably do it in the conventional way. Hollywood employees would benefit greatly from maps of hell since they're all being laid off during this pandemic. Is the thumbnail Polanski? Yes, it is. Zero Books question mark. Not sure what that's a reference to. If it's to my last publisher, then no, that was Aeon Books. I didn't try Zero Books. There's no way that Doug Lane would publish anything I've written. Is Jason a fan? I'm not a fan of Jan Irvin or Jordan Peterson, no. It's our time now. Either way, YouTube research, infighting dramas aside, time to flip normie wigs. And then there's the Vice up. Seems to me you lean towards Christianity. Do you? Are you? If not, why not? Okay, good. I had an email exchange with Thaddeus Kaczynski about this, who I'm reading his book now. I'm not a Christian because I'm a liminalist. Obviously, that's kind of no answer, but I mean, I'm on the threshold. I haven't yet crossed over into any kind of certainty about anything as big as that. And my felt sense about Christianity, I mean, the word is Christian. So for me to say I'm Christian is like saying I'm Christ-like. Now, a humble Christian would say they aspire to be Christ-like. This is what Thaddeus said, but they know they can't do it without Christ's help. Well, okay. If that's your definition of a Christian, then I'm a Christian. I aspire to be like Christ, and I know I can't do it without divine assistance. And that means that as far as being a Christian in the sense that I more understand it, or maybe the sense I mean it, and just being as in being Christ-like, then I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Christ-like I am, and I don't know how much I will pass muster on Judgment Day. And anyone who does is a bad Christian. Anyone who says he does, I mean. So I have a weird position, which is I feel I'm, in some sense, like I'm more true to Christianity than any Christian that I see, and I feel that Christians are hypocrites to some degree or another, and because Christ wasn't a Christian. That's the thing. So how can we be Christian and be Christ-like? We have to be liminal, to be in the unknown. Anyway, that's me. I'm not saying it for anyone else. I actually do think it's good for people to be Christian some of the time. I think it really is helpful. It's just, I'm too, I don't know, I'm too something. It could go either way on that, good or bad, but I know too much, perhaps. So images, films are not intrinsically what? Somebody said I'm depressed. I hope that's a joke rather than a cry for help. Vice of King's Orders are on way either way. Bad are movies morally. Okay. Sending love. Clear up the dedicated work, my friend. Keep up, sorry. To be clear, if we supported at 42, will we receive a copy of the book? Yes, you will, of course. 42. You will soon, well, possibly you will also have the option for a hardback. That's going to be phase 3. So I'll pause now to continue with the practicalities. I feel like I should add up. Oh, another donation. I can actually do it quite quickly because if I go to PayPal, okay, so the last one I added, last time I added up was 170 to go, and it was, sorry for the dead air, it was Kelly R. So we're talking 40, 80, 110, 140, 240, 260, 300, 310. So that means 310 minus 170 is 140. So we're up to roughly 6,200 now, I believe. So that means we're obviously goal number one in the bag, and yes, that means everyone who's ordered option 3 and above gets at least one copy of the book. It means we're 2/3 of the way to the audio book, so you'll also get the audio book, I would say, once we hit that goal, because I'm very confident we'll hit the audio book goal. Then the next goal, and I haven't worked out the exact figures, the next goal number 3, will be roughly another £2,000. So it'll be roughly 8,000, maybe 8,880, because I like my numbers. For a hardback edition, 50 copies. Now this is going to be complicated, because if you've done option 3 or above, so you already are due a copy of the paperback and you want a hardback, you can do that potentially just by making an extra donation of something around £12 per book. I'm hoping I can make it less, but so far hardback quotes I've got are pretty high. But anyway, the problem is that there'll only be 50 hardbacks. So you won't, if you've already done this option, nobody can pre-order the hardback until we hit the goal. And when we hit the goal, then it's open. Then you got to be ready with your fingers on the trigger, I guess. I mean, it's really complicated, actually. No, but when I get within £60 of the hardback goal, not £600 of the hardback goal, then you can start pre-ordering the hardback, because 60 times £12 will make up the difference, and then I'll know there's a hardback. But then, of course, all the hardbacks will be gone as soon as. See how complicated it is? But anyway, I hope people work that out. I'll put it at the website. For now, we're talking about the audio book. We're 2/3 the way. So I said 6,200, and so we need about 460. Is it? Yeah, about £460 now to get the audiobook. And we've got a long time. There's another 77 days or something. So there will be an audiobook. I pretty much guarantee it. But I'm really pushing for a hardback, because I know lots of people want a hardback. So let's see if we can make that happen. Obviously not today. No need to get your checkbooks out as far as the hardback thing goes. But yeah, if you want the audio book, well, then, and you haven't, if you've been waiting to be sure that there's going to be an audio book before contributing, then now's the time. Gosh, I'm really rendering unto Caesar, aren't I, while keeping my eye on God, which is very much the moral of this story. If I were to sum it up as crunchily, succinctly as possible, I'm thinking of cheese crunchies now. We are in hell, but we have the option to orientate ourselves heavenward, but not in order to get out of hell, but in order to transform hell. The more that we allow ourselves to see the nature of the social reality that we're in, the hell layer of existence, and it does go beyond social. There's a metaphysical layer to this too, I believe. I mean, I don't think the Christians are wrong about demons exactly, even though I suspect they may be a little bit wrong. As in, I think that there may be a human dimension to the metaphysical. What we think of as metaphysical evil may be sourced in the human heart, not in the angelic realms, but that's just highly speculative. I would guess that demons, by their very nature, what makes them demonic, that they're fallen, is that they're somehow created out of the stuff of psychic human psychic suffering and torment. So a reaction against something rather than self-created, if you will. But that was all a bit deep and abstract, and definitely a digression. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Well, I think I pretty much said it. But it's back to this look around. Can we orientate ourselves towards what is natural, what is human, what is loving, what is sustaining, what is communal, community, communal based, communion? No reference to Whitley Strieber there. While at the same time, and even as a result of, or somewhat contingent on, as a result of, allowing our attention to take in more and more about the nature of hell, the hell that we've created, and that's both within us and without us. Anyway, that's what I aim to do with my books, is to unveil or uncover the nature of social reality in such a way that we can see that it is a mirror for our own condition, and therefore move our gaze 180 degrees from the hell without to the hell within, and then through the hell within to the heaven within, dissolving the imprint of unbearable affect that has locked the nervous system down, and liberating the life force, which then spills out into the world and disrupts the structures of the world in such a way that it's possible then to start to glimpse nature again, that there is nature in everything, even buildings and technology and everything. It all comes from nature. It's like breaking things down to their essence, but not in a proactive or forceful way. Not like Jeffrey Kripal and his Hadron Collider. So, are you a fan of Polanski? Read the book. I certainly once was. Now I feel very compromised by that allegiance. I think Polanski is a very nasty piece of work, and yet I've felt a lot of love and respect, admiration for Polanski. I have seen The Devils by Ken Russell, unfortunately. I saw it because when I was a teenager, it was part of a double bill with Easy Rider, of all things. So I had to see it, I felt. Surrender? North American Christianity has all but killed it. There was only one Christian who died on the cross, Nietzsche. Appreciate your answer. Thank you, Jason. Message retracted. Where are Druids aware of practicing psychodrama initiative, shamanic processes, MK Ultra research, sought to codify and perpetuate on unwitting subjects to create alts? That's a big one. I feel like I missed the question because there was one about Hollywood elite before. Oh, I did miss it from Jockstrap. Is the EU-UK aristocracy the origin of the occult, ritual, abuse practices of modern-day corporate, political, and Hollywood in the US? I don't know well enough to just say yes there, but there's certainly a lot of evidence for that, or at least it wouldn't be the origin because there was something before the European and British aristocracy. But there's a continuum of practices and beliefs that I met in Vice of Kings, I think. I mean, I tried to. But it's about values, very much about values. That's why that continuum includes all of us, because we've adopted the values. That's why Hollywood, it's what makes Hollywood like the proxy army of the cryptocracy, because they get dispatched. They're the troops that get dispatched into our own nervous system through the imagery and our own psychology, our dreams. You colonize our dreams. So that was a short answer, but I certainly get a much longer answer in 16 Maps of Hell. Anyway, where are Druids aware of practicing psychodrama, initiative, shamanic processes? MK Ultra research sought to codify and perpetrate on unwitting subjects to create altars. I don't know about Druids. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that Archdruid, what's his name, John Michael Greer, would say not at all. I think it's like talking about Masons, or one can't use a term and then assume it includes everyone who's ever been that thing. Even the OTO, which Eric Davis is a member, and Peter Lavender, and I suppose Gordon White, and even the OTO presumably has a majority of innocent practitioners, I mean innocent in quotes, unaware of the ritual abuse, child abuse and stuff that they're complicit with, or I mean that the OTO is complicit with. Put down the pipe, John. That's the thing. Has most of the 21st century Western society been MK Ultra? I think if you're gonna talk in those terms, and if we are, then we just have to say all of it has. I mean, because if we're going to talk about it as like a cultural form of plutonium, just being ground down and scattered across a geographical space and inner space collectively, then it's in all of us. But it's this thing I talk about in an upcoming podcast. I think was it Sam Hyde. You have the top down and the bottom up, and the trick of the top down is to sow seeds that will create bottom up movements. So even though there are real bottom up movements, over time they get replaced by these bottom up movements that are seeded from the top. So there's a synthesis of top and bottom, but the values in the end can all be sourced in the ruling class. Like the lowest of the low end up living by and propagating and defending values that actually belong or come from the ruling class, but they're Trojan horses and they're disguised and they're inverted. The ruling class have this strange trick of they invert their values in order to make them palatable to the masses. And this has a twin effect. Of course, it disguises what they're doing and makes it seem benign, because obviously they invert they've made evil their good, and then they invert the values so that evil looks like good again, like benevolent socialism, for example. But then the other consequence it has is that the masses will take on those values because they think they're good values, and they will intuit that they are the values that are necessary for success. Although it's hopeless, because it doesn't matter how much they imitate the ruling class unless they have access, unless they're given access. This is what 16 Maps of Hell is about, my own attempt to gain access to Hollywood by imitating and not understanding why I couldn't, because I could do all the visible moves. I could write good scripts, I could write good books, I could even make connections. I had family connections. I didn't know the handshakes. You know, I didn't know that the things I was trying to communicate were actually invalidating me, just as if you're at some party in Soho and somebody makes a joke about raping a child and you don't laugh, you've basically signaled that you're not useful material, you're not eligible for access. I mean, not just that one thing, but a number of tells over a given period. If you give the wrong responses, even though you think you're giving the right ones. Anyway, hope that answered the question. God in pain. There's lots of questions. What are the occult implications of being coerced or forced to wear a mask? Well, it's yeah. I mean, I think the question asks like wearing a mask is being inauthentic, disguising yourself, taking on a false self. Try taking your 666 off, mate. Oh, I see. Somebody's got 666 on. Thing about 666, it's in my campaign. Oh, it's been an hour and 20 minutes now. Because if the audiobook goal now, I haven't made it actually legible because I don't actually want to necessarily immanentize the eschaton by using those three numbers, but yeah, £6,660 is now goal number 2. And okay, this did happen sort of coincidentally, because originally I thought it was going to be 2020 was the figure, and I realized that's nowhere near enough. So I times it by 3, 6,060. And then audiobook, I worked out, well, it's about 500. I need at least £500 to do the audiobook. So why not, keep with the 60s, because I know that this is rendering unto Caesar, you see. So 666 isn't quite what we've been made to believe. It's to do with forms, visible forms, and the beast is the instructor who tricks us by making us worship the wrong things, or even worship at all. Like a visible manifestation of God is not God, it's Satan. If God were to somehow become visible in something other than an ordinary human being, which Christ was, I'm going to say that now on the record, Christ was an ordinary human being, an extraordinarily ordinary human being. So if there's anything there that's somehow more than human, then it's also less than human. And that's where you have this satanic, this transhuman thing. And this is a trick. It's all a big, it's not all a big trick, but around this, there's a lot of tricks kind of nested into each other. Because there's also a trick in democratizing Christ. So I could and probably should qualify all this about Christ being an ordinary human being, obviously, who's very extraordinary. But that's what I said about the one. He may be the first, but he's not the only. Christ may well have been the first of of the first truly authentic human being. That's quite possible. I'm willing to go there. And he may have been the last so far. He may have taken 2,000 years and nobody's, but I suspect that even that's not quite true. But anyway, all the highly speculative, and I already feel I'm on very dangerous ground, so I'm going to step gingerly back. Have you tried Craig Poton Publishing yet? No. No, I'm done with publishers. Hey Jason, the essay you and your wife on carbon credit is very revealing. Which elite do you think is getting more benefit on this virus trauma? Looking forward on that audio, but yeah, I don't know about that. That was a one-off blog post, and I really try not to speculate. I really try to use the research and the analysis as a means to make the world more coherent, so that we can start to let go of our attachment to the world. Janaya, canary in the coal mine. I believe demons are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim who were wiped out in the Great Flood. But then that raises the question of what the Nephilim were. See, this is the thing about mythical stories is they get translated, and I did this with the LSK first, they get translated into more scientific versions that supposedly explain them, but they're still myths because we can't verify them. That's why I always return to the human and the unknown aspects of the human psyche and body, and I suspect that because there's so much there that we don't understand, that maybe it does include an awful lot of metaphysical forces and entities as well. I mean, poltergeist, for example, there's a lot of evidence that that's psychic phenomena of adolescence, and so on. Ghosts, when we see ghosts. So yeah, I mean, people have beliefs, and some of those beliefs are useful, and some of them are necessary for sanity and so on. But eventually, all beliefs have to go if we're going to face reality. If and when we face reality, we won't have the luxury of believing anything anymore. We'll just have to see what is real. And I think we're all going to get quite a surprise on that day. That was the last blog post, by the way. Journey of Increasing Disbelief. I recommend it. I recommend my series of blog posts to those who haven't been following it. Direct scale democracy. Thoughts on Santa Bonacci? Don't know. Fuck off, demons are at best abstractions of our hideous materiality. We'll try not to be hostile, aggressive in the chat. Breathing back in germs and carbon dioxide. The self is a thought that tells itself that thought is a self. Where are we? So, yeah. How do we reconcile the fact that Hollywood movies both reveal truth, even esoteric spiritual truth, as well as containing massive amounts of propaganda, mind control? Yeah, it's discernment, sorting of the seeds. Also, I mean, disinformation, just think about that. Disinformation has to be 90% truth, otherwise it doesn't work. So it's a pretty simple formula, isn't it? And it does mean that even disinformation, we can learn from it, but only if we are willing to suspend belief about all of it, and then check. Look around, look within. Sam Hyde, I did some podcasts with him or two before, and I've just done another one also on YouTube. You can hear some snippets. Asking re-druids after watching Steve Outram's presentation on the government. Having to wear a mask suggests to us that we all have our eyes wide shut while they shaft us. 666 isn't an evil number. I view it as a humiliation, coercion ritual. Jason, do you ever disinterrogating? Well, I did for a time because it just was so hard. But I think I'm at a point now where I don't regret it anymore. It's worked out. I mean, I always felt that the upside of this, of doing it, would be if I could ever make my peace with Mammon again, without serving him it. I'd be a self-made man, and that would be good. That would feel like a really good thing, and I think my father would be proud, actually. And that was the point I didn't get to. I think he'd have been proud of the thrift store. He'd have found it odd and probably amusing, but I think he'd have been proud because it's a successful business. And well, I know he would, because I'd have been serving the values that he espoused, which is to help our common man. But I also think he'd been proud of this. I'm getting tingles all down my body, a bit sentimental perhaps, but also real. I think he would have been proud of the success of this fundraiser, because it shows that I've got an entrepreneurial gift, and also that I'm successful as a writer. Now, the scale of it, he wouldn't have understood the context, because he wouldn't have understood the internet, and he wouldn't have understood, because even I wouldn't have understood 6 months ago, that 200 books, pre-selling 200 books, could be a success. The irony is that when I found out that Seen and Not Seen had only sold 200 books, I was gutted. But now 200 books feels like a success. Printing them and knowing that they're pre-ordered and sending them out, having a connection, that feels like a lot of people now, because it's personal. Now it's personal. And it's I know it's just a small thing. I mean, this was in 3 weeks. So if I was really driven, who knows what's possible? I don't want to be driven, don't need to be driven. But the other thing that this has proved is that all those publishers were wrong if they thought or told themselves or told me, don't see any money here. They were wrong. But there's a demand for it. So I was tempted, a little bit tempted, to email some of those publishers and say, hey, guess what? I just raised this much in 3 weeks. What do you think of that? How do you like those apples? I probably wouldn't do it with that snarky tone of voice, but I considered doing it because they might want to know, and Aeon at least, and might be interested. I don't know, but anyway, I'm certainly chuffed. I mean, that's very validating also. I mean, it is rendering unto Caesar and unto God. There's a heaven and hell, getting them to work together in a way that isn't Gnostic or Crowleyan or anything. It's to do with nature and physical reality and how we've turned it into a hell through accumulated trauma. But it was meant to be a heaven, the body, the image of the divine. So we can return to that in a moment, in an instant, as individuals. Journey of Zero Distance, Devashana, quote, citation, reference, footnote. As individuals, we can return to that in an instant. Just one big relax, and we're there. So then collectively, certainly it's going to take more than an instant, just as raising the money took more than an instant. But with the right momentum, critical mass, maybe it will be an instant. Maybe it will. 666 is the number of a man. We are all 666 who are human, so the Antichrist is human. Well, there you go. So Christ is what is fully human, and 666 is what is all too human. There's a weird paradox there because it's the beast. So it's the human who is enslaved, mastered by his animal nature. The beast, who is fully identified and only with his form, with physical, as opposed to being disidentified with form and with the body and simply embracing existence and embraced by existence, all of existence in human form, the eternal. You could say 666 is a temporal thing. I mean, that the fallen man is a temporal man, and true man, authentic man, Christ is the eternal man. Christ is said to be the first fruit. Yeah, dangerous. Scriptures say Jesus is fully God and fully man. Strange truth. Christ's humanity added to his divinity, if this makes sense. His willingness to suffer as a human to redeem. Nephilim are the children of the fallen angels and women. White. Yeah, I do know the story of Nephilim. I'm just saying it's a story, so I can't verify it. Christ is said to be first fruit of the dead. That can be taken a few ways, I guess. This is, I guess there are quite a few Christians or interested in Christianity today. Seem to be more on YouTube for some reason. I mean, when I go on YouTube, I seem to interact more. So that reminds me of a point that Dave made at the blog, which is I do seem to have the interest of quite a few Christians, and maybe I should do a group for Christians, not a discussion group, but just a meeting, congregation. So if you're interested in that, a liminalist live event exploring the nature of Christianity and how to understand and apply it or something. I don't know. It sounds like I know, but just to ask those questions, then send me an email because I will do it if there's enough interest. Corona is 666 in Gematria. If you add the number of letters to the total, Revelation 3:16-18, it's the mark of the beast, that which you cannot buy or sell. Half serious wondering about the Wachowski brothers releasing The Matrix, where they forced into the trans agenda because the Matrix perhaps revealed too much. Oh God, that's a grisly thought. Read the Rolling Stone article. He married his dominatrix. I mean, it's a terrible, tragic ending to the story. Drop of water salted with fire, right? 6 proton, neutrons, electrons. Yeah, physical form is the beast. Yeah, I didn't want to get into that, but that's my kind of sense, and I did read about it. But I also have had some experiences that there's something about matter and the configuration of matter that's satanic, but not in a bad way. It correlates with what we think of as satanic. And then when we add the element of consciousness to it, which is, but it's more like the element of denial. So consciousness probably isn't the word, but we give it some sort of sentience via identification, perhaps. When we identify with matter, we animate it in a way that it wasn't really meant to be animated. It's like, the golem. And so I think man creates Satan. I do. I think that Satan is somehow an egregore created by humanity, and hell is the body of Satan in some way. I mean, that's a bit of a leap, that last bit, but Satan's supposed to dwell in hell anyway. And that was a long, long time ago, of course. Go back to the Garden of Eden. So it's very hard to. I think we're really at such a disadvantage if we try and project stories, mythic narratives about angels pre the Garden of Eden. I mean, really, we're not just off the map. We're outside of any kind of framework for cartography at all. We wouldn't even know what dimension to begin mapping that from. So yeah, I just try not to. If I'm going to talk about those things, I try to bring them down to things we know experientially, which is the body and the psyche, and each other. The true man is the conscious soul. I'll check in for my strange curiosity. Jason, I was never raised Christian and don't consider myself Christian, though I've never been to church, but my church search for the origins of our controls led me to reading the Bible. It's very odd. All right, well, as I say, I do like to keep this to a certain number, a certain time, because there's something about the format, which is not, it's somewhat interactive, but it's not equally interactive. I can't see or hear any of you. We're in this world, but not of this world. Our consciousness transcends the physical. Fixating on the physical and contract consciousness here, hell, perhaps. Well, let's end on a question mark, because that's liminalism. I would like to extend some very heartfelt thanks to those today who have supported and contributed, but also those who aren't here but who will watch this, and those who will never see it. I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful. I think that we together have accomplished something that transcends this material plane, at least so far as what's visible anyway, in terms of a series of financial contributions leading to the publication of a book about Hollywood. There's a lot more than meets the eye that's happening here. And I feel that in my heart and my body and perhaps my soul, which is a subtler dimension, that love is happening and moving and dissolving structures that do not need to exist any longer and that maintain a fixed, coagulated fascia of false identification that prevents us from realizing our true natures in time and beyond time, in the eternal. And that is where we're all headed, to eternity, like it or not. There will be no books there, and no YouTubes, no internet, no PayPal, no websites, no donations, no buildings or trains, probably, although I did have a vision of heaven and it had trains, so I can't swear what's in eternity and what isn't, obviously. But I started more kind of literally, and then I got more poetic. We are literally headed to eternity in the sense that we will die, and then that will be forever. So in the meantime, let us live and enjoy and embrace life, and obviously make the most of our time there, here, Freudian slip. Enjoy nature, drink lots of water, eat good food, and limit your exposure to Hollywood propaganda. But, you know, don't be too hard on yourself. We are here in this world, and I have said for quite some time now that the more in this world we can be, the less of the world we become. That is the maxim that I will end upon, and that speaks directly to how we find heaven by seeing hell fully, and by fully getting our roots in hell, the tree that grows to heaven and all that. And that, as I say, I'll say one last time, I feel that this fundraising, this campaign, this ongoing project that's now in phase 2 of the audiobook, has been an evolving experience of that becoming more fully embodied in the world and connecting in a way that's more tangible and real, and therefore less hellish and more heavenly. See, heaven's not abstract at all. Garden of earthly delights is a garden, not some far off place in the galaxies that you need to build a spaceship to get to. All right, well, thank you for that. His Manification just said the work helps on this journey. We are here together on this journey of increasing disbelief, which is also increasing direct knowing of reality. Not something that everybody's up for, but well worth the time and trouble. Thanks everyone. That's 14141. It was a moment ago, and thanks for these last minute donations, and congratulations to everyone. We did make it happen. We have manifested a new reality.